The morning Sarah Chen received the transmission from her daughter's school ship. She was tending to her hydroponic garden on the agricultural station orbiting Kepler 442b. The message came through the standard educational channels, routine and unremarkable in its delivery method. What made her blood freeze was the content. Parent notification, student transfer protocol initiated. Educational vessel Bright Future has been reassigned to enhanced learning facility. Students will continue studies at new location. Communication restrictions in effect during transition period. Sarah's hands trembled as she read the message 3 times. Her daughter May was aboard that ship with 2,000 other children from across the human colonies. The Bright Future was one of 12 massive educational vessels that traveled between star systems, providing advanced learning opportunities for the brightest young minds humanity had to offer. Communication restrictions during transfer were not standard protocol. Within hours, similar messages flooded communication networks across human space. Parents, grandparents, and guardians from Earth to the furthest colonies received identical notifications. 12 ships. 50,000 children. All suddenly unreachable. The first sign something was catastrophically wrong came when Captain Maria Santos of the cargo freighter Stellar Wind stumbled across debris in the Vega system. Twisted metal bearing the hull markings of the Bright Future drifted silently through space, but there were no bodies, no life pods, no distress beacons. Just scattered fragments and an ominous silence where 50 million tons of ship and 4,000 souls should have been. Santos immediately broadcast her findings to the nearest human outpost. Within 12 hours, emergency response teams converged on the debris field. What they found defied explanation. The metal showed signs of precise cutting, not explosive damage. The debris pattern suggested controlled dismantling rather than destruction. Most disturbing of all, spectrographic analysis revealed trace elements that matched no known human technology. Dr. Elena Vasquez, xenoarchaeologist and head of the emergency investigation team, crouched beside a section of hull plating in the cargo bay of the research vessel Discovery. The metal had been cut with surgical precision, edges smooth as glass. Her scanner revealed the tool marks were made by focused plasma at temperatures no human equipment could generate without destroying the surrounding material. This wasn't an accident, she reported to Admiral James Harrison, commander of the Colonial Defense Force. This was surgical extraction. Someone cut these ships apart piece by piece and took everything inside. The Admiral's weathered face grew grim on the holographic display. Any sign of the children? None. No biological traces, no personal effects that weren't welded to the superstructure. It's as if they were harvested. Harrison closed his eyes briefly. He had grandchildren of his own, though fortunately not aboard any of the missing vessels. Doctor, I need your professional opinion. Could this have been done by any known alien species? Dr. Vasquez had spent 20 years studying the ruins left behind by extinct civilizations throughout the galaxy. Humanity had encountered evidence of dozens of species that had once thrived among the stars, but precious few that were still alive. The galaxy seemed remarkably empty of active, spacefaring civilizations. Until now. Admiral, the precision here exceeds anything we've seen from archaeological sites. This technology is active, advanced, and it's being used right now. Whoever did this wanted the children specifically. Everything else was discarded. The investigation expanded rapidly. Naval vessels spread throughout human space, searching for any trace of the missing ships or their contents. What they discovered painted an increasingly horrifying picture. All 12 educational vessels had been taken in a coordinated strike across multiple star systems simultaneously. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. Commander Sarah Mitchell, commanding the destroyer Retribution, was analyzing sensor logs from the Centauri system when she made the breakthrough. Admiral, I've found something. Energy signatures in the upper atmosphere of Proxima Centauri C, recorded 6 hours before the disappearances. The pattern doesn't match any known drive system. Send me the data, Harrison ordered. The energy signatures were unlike anything in human databases. They suggested massive vessels using some form of gravity manipulation for propulsion. The ships had approached human space from the direction of the galactic core, stayed long enough to complete their mission, then vanished back into the void. But they had made one mistake. Lieutenant Tom Bradley, a communications specialist aboard the research station at Wolf 359, had been running a deep space listening post experiment when the attacks occurred. His equipment was designed to detect the faintest electromagnetic signatures across vast distances, searching for signs of alien intelligence. "Admiral, you need to hear this," Bradley said, his face pale as he transmitted his findings. "I picked up communication bursts during the time window of the disappearances. The signals were encoded, but I've managed to extract some patterns." The audio file that came through the secure channel made Admiral Harrison's blood turn to ice. Behind the static and electronic interference were unmistakable sounds. Children crying. Young voices calling for their parents in a dozen human languages. The signals had been transmitted from somewhere beyond the outer rim of human space, in a direction no human ship had ever traveled. The children were alive, at least when the transmission was sent. But they were impossibly far from home, in the hands of an unknown alien intelligence. Dr. Vasquez worked frantically to decode more information from the alien communications. The mathematical patterns suggested a highly advanced species with technology centuries ahead of humanity's current capabilities. The precision of their operation, the simultaneous strikes across multiple star systems, and their ability to completely disable human ships without leaving survivors all pointed to overwhelming technological superiority. "They've been watching us," she told Harrison during their daily briefing. This wasn't random. They knew exactly which ships to target, when they would be most vulnerable, and how to extract what they wanted without leaving evidence. "They've been studying us for months, maybe years." The Admiral stared at the holographic display showing the last known positions of the 12 ships. Red dots marking where humanity's future had been stolen. "What do they want with our children? I wish I knew. But, Admiral, there's something else. I've been analyzing the communication patterns, and there are similarities to ruins we've found on dead worlds throughout this sector. I think this species has done this before. To other races." The implications were staggering. Humanity had always wondered why the galaxy seemed so empty of intelligent life despite abundant evidence that many species had once thrived among the stars. Perhaps they had their answer. Perhaps something had been harvesting the young of every species it encountered, leaving only empty worlds and silent ruins behind. Harrison made the decision that would change everything. "Doctor, I want you to prepare a full briefing for the Colonial Council. Include everything we've found, every piece of evidence, every theory you have about this species and their capabilities. Sir, if I present this information, they'll want to mount a rescue operation. With our current technology, that would be suicide." "Maybe. But those are our children out there, Doctor. And if this species has been doing this to other races for millennia, then we're not just fighting for our kids. We're fighting for the survival of intelligence in this galaxy." The emergency session of the Colonial Council convened on Earth 3 days later. Representatives from every human world gathered in the Great Chamber beneath Geneva, their faces grim as Dr. Vasquez presented her findings. The evidence was overwhelming and terrifying. An unknown alien species had systematically abducted 50,000 human children using technology that made humanity look like primitives playing with stone tools. President Chen Mirabel, Sarah Chen's sister and elected leader of the Colonial Council, stood to address the assembly. The personal stakes made her voice shake with barely controlled rage, but her words were clear and decisive. "Members of the Council, we face a choice that will define humanity's future. We can accept this loss, strengthen our defenses, and hope these aliens never return. Or we can do what humans have always done when faced with an impossible challenge. We can refuse to accept the unacceptable." The debate that followed was fierce. Admiral Harrison presented military assessments that painted a bleak picture. Humanity's finest ships were no match for technology that could disable them without firing a shot. Their weapons couldn't penetrate shields that made starship hulls transparent to alien cutting tools. Any rescue attempt would likely result in the destruction of humanity's entire fleet. But then, Dr. Marcus Webb, the brilliant physicist who had revolutionized human FTL travel, stood to speak. "Honorable President, esteemed Council members, I have spent the last 72 hours reviewing our technological capabilities in light of this threat.
We are indeed outmatched by conventional measures.
But humanity has never won through conventional measures.
Webb activated a holographic display showing technical specifications that made several council members gasp.
For the past 5 years, my team has been developing theoretical weapons systems based on zero-point energy manipulation.
The projects were considered too dangerous for implementation. Perhaps it's time to reconsider that position.
The weapons Dr. Webb described were terrifying in their implications. Devices that could tear holes in spacetime itself, creating localized implosions that would crush matter down to subatomic particles. Missiles that traveled through folded space, arriving at their targets before they were technically fired. Energy cannons that drew power directly from the quantum vacuum, theoretically capable of unlimited output.
The risks are enormous, Webb continued.
These weapons could potentially damage the fabric of space itself if used improperly.
But, given what we're facing, I believe the risk is justified. President Chen looked around the chamber at the faces of humanity's leaders.
Fear, anger, and determination warred in their expressions.
Dr. Webb, how long would you need to build a working prototype?
6 months for the first systems. A year to retrofit our entire fleet.
We may not have a year.
Intelligence suggests these aliens could return at any time to finish what they started.
Admiral Harrison stepped forward. Madam President, I propose a 2-phase operation.
Phase 1, immediate mobilization of every available ship and resource to locate the alien base of operations.
Phase 2, deployment of DR.
Webb's weapons systems in a coordinated strike to recover our children and eliminate this threat permanently.
The vote was unanimous.
Every member of the Colonial Council, representing billions of humans across dozens of worlds, agreed to commit everything humanity had to this rescue mission.
The economic cost would be staggering. The technological risks were unprecedented.
The chance of success was minimal.
But they were going to try anyway, because that's what humans did. Within hours of the Council's decision, the largest mobilization in human history began.
Every shipyard from Earth to the Centauri colonies retooled for military production. Civilian vessels were conscripted and retrofitted with the most advanced sensor arrays humanity could build. Scientists who had never seen the inside of a weapons lab found themselves working 18-hour shifts to develop technologies that violated several laws of physics. Dr. Webb established his primary research facility on Titan, using the moon's industrial infrastructure to begin construction of humanity's first zero-point weapons. The work was dangerous beyond imagination. 3 separate lab accidents resulted in temporary spacetime distortions that swallowed chunks of the facility. But Webb and his team pressed on, driven by the knowledge that 50,000 children were depending on their success.
Meanwhile, Admiral Harrison assembled a reconnaissance fleet unlike anything humanity had ever fielded.
100 of the fastest ships available, equipped with experimental sensors and carrying humanity's best pilots. Their mission: penetrate deep into unknown space and locate the alien stronghold. Captain Sarah Chen, Sarah's younger sister and a veteran of the frontier conflicts, volunteered to lead the advanced scout mission. Her ship, the Pathfinder, had been extensively modified with Dr. Webb's prototype sensors and the most sophisticated stealth systems human technology could provide. "Admiral," she reported from the bridge of her ship as the scout fleet prepared to depart, "we understand this is likely a one-way mission. But, sir, those kids out there, they're counting on us to find them."
Harrison's response carried the weight of humanity's hope and fury. "Captain, bring our children home. Whatever it takes."
The scout fleet jumped to FTL 6 days after the Council's decision. 100 ships carrying humanity's finest, venturing into the unknown to face an enemy that had already proven their technological superiority.
Behind them, the greatest military buildup in human history continued as Dr. Webb's impossible weapon slowly took shape.
In the depths of space, far beyond the reach of human sensors, something ancient and patient continued its work. The harvest had been successful, as it had been countless times before across countless worlds. The young minds were being prepared for their purpose, their potential unlocked through methods that would have horrified their parents.
But this time was different.
This time, the prey was refusing to simply accept their loss and hide. The aliens had encountered many species in their millennia of harvesting, but none quite like humanity.
none that responded to overwhelming defeat with overwhelming fury.
The galaxy was about to learn why humans had spread to the stars despite every obstacle, why they refused to accept any limitation as permanent, and what happened when someone threatened their children. The real war was just beginning. Captain Sarah Chen had been in space for 3 weeks when her ship's experimental sensors detected the impossible. The Pathfinder was operating at the extreme edge of human-explored space, following the trajectory calculated from the alien energy signatures. Her crew of 12 specialists had pushed their modified scout ship harder and farther than any human vessel had ever traveled. "Captain, you need to see this," called Lieutenant Rodriguez from the sensor station. His voice carried a mixture of excitement and terror that made Sarah's stomach clench. The main display showed a star system that shouldn't exist. 7 planets orbited a Class G star, but the orbital mechanics were wrong. The planets moved in perfect synchronization, their positions maintained by technology rather than gravity. Massive artificial structures connected the worlds, creating a web of construction that spanned the entire system. "My God," whispered Dr. Kim Patel, the xenobiologist assigned to the mission. "It's a Dyson swarm. They've harnessed the entire energy output of a star." Sarah stared at the display in growing horror. The scale was beyond anything humanity had imagined possible. The smallest structures in the alien construction were larger than Earth's moon. The amount of raw material required to build such a system would have required dismantling hundreds of planets. "Rodriguez, are you detecting any ships?" "Negative, Captain. But the energy readings are off the charts. Whatever they're doing in there requires more power than our entire civilization generates." Sarah made the decision that would change everything. "Take us in. Maximum stealth, minimum power. We need to get close enough for detailed scans." The Pathfinder crept through the outer system like a ghost, using gravity assists from asteroids and debris to mask its approach. The alien structures grew more detailed and more terrifying as they drew closer. What had appeared to be smooth surfaces from a distance revealed themselves to be impossibly complex networks of machinery, processing plants, and what could only be described as farms. "Captain," Dr. Patel's voice was barely a whisper, "I'm detecting biological signatures on the 3rd planet. Massive concentrations of organic matter, but the patterns are organized. Artificial." The enhanced sensors revealed the truth in horrifying detail. The 3rd planet had been completely transformed into a biological processing facility. Vast dome structures covered the surface, each one containing thousands of organic units arranged in perfect geometric patterns. The sensor returns suggested the units were roughly human-sized. "Rodriguez, can you penetrate their scanning protocols? I need to know what's in those structures." The young lieutenant's fingers flew across his console as he attempted to hack into the alien sensor network. Human computer technology was primitive compared to what they were facing, but Rodriguez had one advantage the aliens hadn't counted on. Human hackers were creative, unpredictable, and absolutely relentless when properly motivated. "Got something, Captain. Uploading to main display now." The images that appeared on the screen would haunt Sarah Chen for the rest of her life. Inside the domed structures were children. Thousands upon thousands of them, from dozens of different species. Most she didn't recognize, but scattered among the alien forms were unmistakably human faces. The children were suspended in transparent chambers filled with luminous fluid, their bodies connected to complex machinery through neural interfaces. Their faces were peaceful, almost serene, but their minds were clearly being manipulated by the alien technology. "They're alive," Dr. Patel breathed. "Whatever they're doing to them, the children are still alive." Sarah felt rage building in her chest like a nuclear fire. These monsters had stolen 50,000 human children and were using them for some incomprehensible alien purpose. But they had made a critical mistake. They had left the children alive, which meant there was still hope for rescue. "Rodriguez, I need you to map this entire system. Every structure, every energy signature, every defensive installation you can detect. We're going home with intelligence that will burn this place to the ground." The detailed scans took 6 hours to complete. During that time, the Pathfinder recorded terabytes of information about alien technology, defensive systems, and, most importantly, the precise location of every facility containing captured children. The aliens operated with the confidence of a species that had never faced meaningful resistance, leaving their installations relatively undefended. As they prepared to leave, Dr. Patel made one final discovery that changed everything.
Captain, I'm detecting transmission bursts from the processing facilities.
The aliens are uploading something from the children's minds.
Uploading what? Information.
Memories, knowledge, creative processes.
They're not just holding these children, Captain. They're harvesting their minds. The implications were staggering. This wasn't random alien cruelty.
This was systematic extraction of intelligence and creativity from young minds across the galaxy. The aliens were stealing the potential of entire species, leaving behind only empty worlds and scattered ruins.
Sarah Chen made her report to Admiral Harrison from the edge of the alien system before beginning the long journey home.
Admiral, we've found them.
All of them.
And, sir, it's worse than we thought. The intelligence gathered by the Pathfinder reached Earth just as Dr. Webb completed testing of humanity's first zero-point weapon. The timing was perfect, because what Sarah had discovered required an immediate and overwhelming response. The emergency briefing held in the secure bunker beneath Colorado included every major military and scientific leader in human space. Admiral Harrison presented the reconnaissance findings with grim efficiency, highlighting the scale of the alien installation and the horrifying purpose behind the abductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, Harrison concluded, we are facing an enemy that has been harvesting intelligent species for millennia.
Based on Dr. Patel's analysis of the alien archives we managed to access, this species has destroyed hundreds of civilizations across the galaxy.
We have discovered why the universe seems so empty of intelligent life.
Dr. Webb stepped forward to present his weapons development progress.
The zero-point systems are ready for deployment. We've successfully created controlled spacetime distortions capable of generating tremendous destructive force.
However, I must stress that using these weapons near the children's location carries extreme risks. President Chen studied the tactical displays with the cold focus that had made her humanity's leader.
Dr. Webb, what are our chances of successfully rescuing the children with conventional weapons?
Essentially zero, Madam President. The alien defensive systems are centuries ahead of our current capabilities. Our traditional weapons would be useless against their shields and armor.
And, with the zero-point weapons? Webb hesitated before answering. Unknown.
The weapons are powerful enough to destroy their installations, but the spacetime distortions could potentially harm the children as well.
We would need to be extremely precise in our targeting. Admiral Harrison activated a holographic display showing the proposed battle plan. Madam President, I'm recommending a two-phase assault. Phase 1 involves using our zero-point weapons to eliminate the alien defensive installations and power generation systems. Phase 2 would be a massive boarding operation to extract the children before the aliens can retaliate. How many ships would we need for such an operation? Everything we have. Every warship, every transport, every civilian vessel we can retrofit for combat. This isn't just a rescue mission, Madam President. This is humanity's declaration of war against an enemy that has been exterminating intelligent species for thousands of years.
The debate that followed was intense but brief. The evidence was overwhelming, the stakes were absolute, and humanity's choice was clear. They would commit everything to this single massive operation, knowing that failure meant not just the loss of their children, but potentially the extinction of their entire species. The mobilization that followed dwarfed anything in human history. Every shipyard in human space worked around the clock to retrofit civilian vessels with Dr. Webb's zero-point weapons. Cargo ships became missile destroyers. Passenger liners were converted into troop transports. Even mining vessels were equipped with military-grade sensors and weapons systems. Dr. Webb established weapon production facilities on 17 different worlds, each one manufacturing components for the zero-point systems under maximum security. The technology was so dangerous that several facilities had to be abandoned when experimental accidents created permanent spacetime anomalies. Captain Sarah Chen found herself promoted to Commodore and, placed in command of the Advanced Strike Force. Her squadron included 50 of humanity's most advanced warships, each one equipped with experimental weapons that had never been tested in actual combat. Commodore Admiral Harrison briefed her from the command center on Earth. Your mission is to neutralize the alien defensive systems and create an opening for the main assault fleet. Intelligence suggests they have orbital defense platforms capable of destroying entire fleets, but we believe the zero-point weapons can penetrate their shields. Sarah studied the tactical projections with growing amazement. The main assault fleet would include over 3,000 ships carrying nearly 1 million human troops. It was the largest military operation in the galaxy's recorded history, all focused on rescuing 50,000 children and eliminating an enemy that had terrorized countless civilizations.
Admiral, what about the political implications?
If we destroy this installation, we're essentially declaring war on a species that could potentially wipe us out.
Harrison's expression was grim but determined. Commodore, they declared war on us the moment they took our children. The only question now is whether we're going to fight back or accept extinction. The final preparations took 3 months to complete.
During that time, human intelligence continued monitoring the alien system, watching helplessly as more children from other species were brought to the processing facilities. The aliens were clearly preparing for something, increasing their harvest rate and expanding their operations. Dr. Patel, now serving as Chief Intelligence Officer for the operation, made a disturbing discovery during the final planning stages.
Admiral, we've detected increased activity around the alien installation. They're moving the children to different locations within the system. Could they be aware of our plans?
It's possible, sir. But I think it's more likely they're preparing for the next phase of their operation. Based on the patterns we've observed, they appear to be getting ready to extract the children's knowledge and dispose of the physical forms.
The implication was clear. Humanity was running out of time.
If they didn't act soon, the children would be beyond rescue.
Admiral Harrison made the final decision from the bridge of the massive dreadnought Retribution, flagship of the human fleet.
All units, this is Fleet Command.
Operation Homecoming is authorized. Commodore Chen, begin your approach.
The future of our species depends on the next 24 hours. The human fleet jumped to FTL in waves, each group taking a slightly different route to avoid detection until the last possible moment. Commodore Chen's strike force led the way, their ships equipped with the most advanced stealth systems humanity had ever developed. As they approached the alien system, Sarah Chen thought about her sister Sarah, waiting on the agricultural station for news of her daughter. She thought about the 50,000 human children suspended in alien machinery, their minds being slowly drained of everything that made them human. She thought about the countless other species that had faced the same enemy and lost everything. All ships, she broadcast to her squadron, this is Commodore Chen.
In 15 minutes, we will engage an enemy that has been harvesting intelligent life for millennia.
They think we're just another primitive species to be processed and discarded. They're about to learn that they've made a serious mistake. The alien system appeared on their screens, its artificial structures gleaming with the light of a captive star. Defensive platforms the size of cities hung in space around the processing worlds, their weapons already turning toward the approaching human fleet. "Ma'am," called her tactical officer, "alien defensive systems are powering up."
They know we're here.
Sarah Chen smiled grimly.
Good. Let them see us coming.
Target the primary orbital platform and prepare to fire all zero-point weapons on my command.
The battle for humanity's children was about to begin. And the galaxy would never be the same.
The first zero-point weapon fired by humanity tore a hole in reality itself.
Commodore Sarah Chen watched from the bridge of her flagship as the experimental missile streaked toward the massive alien defense platform. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen.
Then, space itself began to unravel around the target. The platform, larger than Earth's moon and protected by shields that could deflect stellar radiation, simply ceased to exist as matter was compressed beyond the point where atomic structure could maintain cohesion. "Direct hit," reported Lieutenant Rodriguez, his voice filled with awe and terror.
"The entire platform is gone.
I'm detecting massive gravitational distortions at the impact site."
Sarah felt a surge of savage satisfaction.
The aliens had thought themselves invincible, harvesting younger species like farmers collecting grain. They were about to learn that some crops fought back. All ships, continue the bombardment. Target every defensive installation in the system. We need a clear path for the main fleet. The human strike force unleashed humanity's fury in the form of physics-defying weapons. Zero-point missiles created localized black holes that consumed entire alien installations. Energy cannons drawing power from the quantum vacuum burned through matter at the subatomic level. Spacetime itself became humanity's weapon as they carved a path of destruction through the alien defensive network. But the aliens were not helpless. Ancient beyond human comprehension, they had faced resistance before, though never quite like this. Weapons that humanity had no names for began targeting the human ships. Beams of coherent gravity crushed hull plating like paper. Missiles that phased through normal matter exploded inside ship cores. Reality warping devices attempted to erase human vessels from existence entirely. The Pathfinder, Sarah's former scout ship, vanished in a burst of impossible colors as an alien weapon removed it from the timeline. The destroyer Vengeance imploded when gravity manipulation technology created a miniature black hole in its engine room. But, for every human ship lost, the aliens lost entire installations to humanity's zero-point weapons. Commodore, called the communications officer, Admiral Harrison is requesting status report. The main fleet is standing by. Sarah looked at the tactical display showing the alien system. Half of their defensive platforms had been destroyed, but the cost was mounting. She had lost 12 ships and 300 crew members in the opening engagement. The aliens were adapting to human weapons faster than expected. Tell the Admiral we've opened a corridor. Begin the main assault now, before they can reinforce their positions. 3,000 human ships dropped out of FTL in perfect formation, the largest fleet in galactic history assembled for a single purpose. Dreadnoughts bristling with zero-point weapons led the charge, followed by cruisers carrying specialized boarding equipment, and, finally, the massive transport ships that would carry the rescued children home. Admiral Harrison commanded the operation from the Super Dreadnought Fury, a ship so large it had required an entire asteroid to provide the raw materials for construction. The zero-point weapons mounted on its hull could tear apart continents, but they would need surgical precision for this mission. All ships, this is Admiral Harrison. Begin bombardment of military targets only. Remember, our children are in those facilities. Every shot counts. The battle that followed would be remembered as the moment humanity announced itself as a major galactic power. Human ships moved with desperate precision, their crews knowing that any mistake could kill the children they were trying to save. The aliens fought with the cold efficiency of a species that had conquered countless worlds, but they had never faced an enemy that combined advanced technology with absolute moral fury. Dr. Webb, monitoring the battle from his command ship, watched in amazement as his weapons performed beyond their theoretical limits. Admiral, the zero-point systems are exceeding all projections. We're actually pushing the aliens back. But the aliens had one final card to play. Deep within their primary facility, ancient systems began activating. The children suspended in their processing chambers were not just being harvested for knowledge. They were being prepared as weapons. Sir, Dr. Patel called out an alarm. I'm detecting massive energy buildup in the main processing facility. They're doing something to the children. The alien plan became clear as psychic energies began radiating from the processing centers. The stolen minds of 100 species were being weaponized, turned into a Gestalt consciousness under alien control. The children's natural creativity and intelligence was being perverted into a weapon capable of destroying attacking fleets through pure mental force. Sarah felt the psychic assault hit her ship like a physical blow. Crew members collapsed at their stations as alien thoughts invaded their minds. The bridge lights flickered as reality itself seemed to twist around them. But humanity had one advantage the aliens had not anticipated: human stubbornness. All hands, Sarah broadcast throughout her ship, her voice cutting through the psychic chaos. Remember why we're here. Our children are in those facilities. We're not leaving without them. The human crews fought back against the psychic assault through sheer determination. They thought of their own children, their families, their friends who were counting on them to succeed. The mental discipline that had carried humanity to the stars now served as armor against alien mind control. But they needed to act fast.
The psychic weapon was growing stronger as more children were connected to the alien network. Dr. Webb made a desperate decision.
Admiral, I'm detecting the source of the psychic emanations.
It's the central processing facility on the third planet. If we can destroy the control systems without harming the children.
Do it, Harrison ordered without hesitation.
The most precise military strike in human history began as specially modified missiles streaked toward the alien facility.
Each weapon had been programmed to target only the alien control systems while leaving the chambers containing the children untouched. It was a task that required computer precision measured in microseconds and targeting accuracy measured in millimeters. The missiles struck with surgical precision, sending chains of explosions through the alien control networks. The psychic assault immediately weakened as the Gestalt consciousness began fragmenting.
But the aliens had one last desperate gambit. If they could not use the children as weapons, they would prevent humanity from rescuing them.
All ships, Admiral Harrison's voice crackled with urgency, alien vessels are moving to intercept.
They're trying to destroy the processing facilities themselves.
The final phase of the battle became a race against time. Human boarding craft launched toward the processing facilities while the main fleet engaged the alien ships attempting to destroy them. Marines in powered armor fought their way through alien corridors while engineers worked frantically to free the children from their suspension chambers. Captain Lisa Rodriguez, sister of the fallen lieutenant, led the first boarding team into the central facility. What she found there would haunt her for the rest of her life. Thousands of children from dozens of species floated in transparent chambers, their minds trapped in alien machinery that was slowly consuming their consciousness. Medical team to processing base 7, she called into her communicator.
I have human children, approximately 200 individuals.
They're alive but unconscious.
The rescue operation proceeded with desperate efficiency. Human medical teams worked alongside the boarding parties to safely extract each child from the alien machinery.
Many had been connected to the systems for months, their bodies weakened but their minds intact. Others showed signs of partial memory extraction, their personalities fragmented but recoverable. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the pediatric neurologist leading the medical effort, marveled at the resilience of the young minds they were rescuing.
These kids have been through hell, but they're fighting back. Their brains are actively rejecting the alien neural interfaces.
The battle raged around them as human ships held off increasingly desperate alien attacks. The aliens knew that losing this facility meant losing their primary harvesting operation, and they threw everything they had into destroying it before the humans could complete the rescue. But humanity had learned something about themselves during this crisis. When their children were threatened, they became a force that could reshape the galaxy itself. Ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting with hull breaches and failing systems. Crew members who should have collapsed from exhaustion continued working around the clock. Marines who should have retreated pushed deeper into alien facilities. Admiral, Commodore Chen reported from the bridge of her battered flagship, "We've secured the primary facility. Estimated 4,000 children rescued so far, including approximately 1,000 humans."
Confirmed. Continue extraction operations. We're not leaving anyone behind.
The alien resistance began to crumble as more facilities fell to human assault teams. Their ships, designed for overwhelming technological superiority, couldn't cope with opponents who simply refused to acknowledge that they should be losing. Human zero-point weapons carved through alien defenses while boarding teams penetrated deeper into the harvesting complexes.
As the day wore on, the scale of the alien operation became clear.
They had been harvesting intelligent species for over 10,000 years, accumulating the knowledge and creativity of hundreds of civilizations. The children found in the facilities represented dozens of species, some of which humanity had never encountered before. Dr. Patel made the most significant discovery in a secondary facility on the fourth planet.
Admiral, we've found the alien archives. Complete records of every species they've harvested over the millennia.
Sir, the scale of this is, they've destroyed entire galactic civilizations. The archives contain terabytes of stolen knowledge, creative works, and scientific discoveries from thousands of extinct species. The aliens had been building a vast library of intelligence, consuming younger races to feed their own advancement. But they had made a critical error in their calculations.
They had assumed that technological superiority would always triumph over primitive fury.
They had not accounted for the human capacity to create new technologies specifically to solve immediate problems. Most importantly, they had not understood that some species would rather die fighting than accept defeat. As the human fleet secured the processing facilities and began the massive evacuation operation, the aliens made their final move. Ancient ships emerged from the depths of space, vessels so old they predated most galactic civilizations. These were the core fleet of the harvesting species, their most powerful weapons and strongest defenses.
"Admiral," the sensor officer called out an alarm, "massive alien fleet approaching.
Energy signatures are off the charts. These ships are ancient."
Harrison looked at the tactical display showing 40 alien dreadnoughts approaching the system.
Each one was larger than humanity's biggest ships, armed with weapons that could sterilize planets, and protected by shields that had withstood the death of stars. "All ships," he broadcast to his fleet, "this is it.
Everything we've fought for comes down to the next hour.
We have our children back, but we need to get them home.
For humanity." The final battle began as human ships formed defensive formations around the evacuation transports.
The alien dreadnoughts opened fire with weapons that warped space itself, creating distortion fields that crushed human vessels like empty containers.
But humanity had learned something from their enemy.
Dr. Webb, working frantically in his mobile laboratory, completed humanity's most ambitious project.
"Admiral, deploying the quantum cascade weapon. This is either going to save us all or destroy half the galaxy." The weapon that humanity fired at the alien fleet was not just a zero-point device.
It was a chain reaction that spread across space itself, each explosion triggering larger distortions that grew exponentially in power. The ancient alien shields, designed to withstand conventional weapons, simply could not cope with attacks that unraveled the fundamental structure of reality. One by one, the alien dreadnoughts vanished into quantum foam as spacetime collapsed around them. The harvesting fleet that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia was destroyed in minutes by weapons that had not existed 6 months earlier. "All alien vessels destroyed," reported the tactical officer, his voice filled with disbelief.
"The system is clear."
Admiral Harrison slumped in his command chair as the magnitude of their victory settled in. They had not just rescued the children. They had eliminated a threat that had been exterminating intelligent species for thousands of years. The galaxy was a safer place because humanity had refused to accept the loss of their young. The journey home took 3 weeks. The rescued children, representing dozens of species, were cared for by human medical teams while xenobiologists worked to identify their home worlds. Many of the alien species were extinct, their civilizations destroyed by the harvesters before humanity had even developed space travel. But some had surviving populations who would be overjoyed to learn their children had been saved.
Sarah Chen was waiting at the spaceport on Luna when the transport ship Hope docked with its precious cargo.
She had not slept properly in months, not since receiving the notification that her daughter had been transferred to an enhanced learning facility. When Mei Chen walked down the boarding ramp, still wearing the modified alien neural interface that doctors were afraid to remove too quickly, Sarah felt a joy that threatened to overwhelm her. Her daughter was alive, aware, and ready to tell the galaxy about the horrors she had witnessed and the courage of the humans who had saved her. "Mom," May said as they embraced, "they took so many.
From so many worlds. But we fought back. Even in those machines, we fought back."
Dr. Patel published his final report on the alien harvesting operation 6 months after the rescue mission. The scope of the threat they had eliminated was staggering. For over 10,000 years, the harvesters had been consuming younger civilizations, explaining why the galaxy seemed so empty of intelligent life. "We estimate that the harvester fleet was responsible for the extinction of approximately 400 spacefaring species," he wrote. Their technology allowed them to harvest the mental capacity of younger races while eliminating any potential for future competition. By destroying their operation, humanity has prevented countless future extinctions and opened the galaxy for the natural development of intelligence. President Chen addressed the Colonial Council 1 year after Operation Homecoming, standing before representatives not just from human worlds, but from 6 alien species whose children had been saved by human intervention. "Today, we celebrate not just the rescue of our children, but the beginning of a new age in galactic history. For the first time in millennia, younger species can develop without fear of harvesting. The galaxy is open for exploration, cooperation, and the growth of intelligence in all its forms. The technology developed during the crisis transformed human civilization. Zero-point energy made interstellar travel economical for civilian vessels. Advanced medical techniques developed to treat the rescued children revolutionized healthcare across human space. Most importantly, the knowledge gained from the alien archives accelerated human scientific development by centuries. But the greatest change was in humanity's place in the galaxy. They were no longer a young species struggling to establish themselves among the stars. They were the civilization that had broken a cycle of extinction that had lasted for millennia. They were the species that had looked at impossible odds and decided to fight anyway. Admiral Harrison, now serving as head of the new Galactic Security Council, often reflected on the lessons learned from the crisis. We discovered that technological superiority means nothing if you lack the will to use it properly. The harvesters had weapons that could destroy solar systems, but they had grown complacent after millennia of easy victories. They never expected to face an enemy that would rather die than surrender. The rescued children grew up to become leaders, scientists, artists, and warriors in the new galactic civilization. Their experiences in the alien facilities had traumatized them, but also given them unique insights into the nature of intelligence and creativity. Many dedicated their lives to ensuring that no species would ever again face the threat of harvesting. Mei Chen became a xenobiologist specializing in the rehabilitation of harvested minds. Her work helped dozens of species recover memories and cultural knowledge that the aliens had attempted to steal. Her research led to the development of mental shielding techniques that protected against psychic manipulation. We learned something important during those months in the alien machines, she told a gathering of galactic representatives on the 5th anniversary of the rescue. Intelligence is not just knowledge or creativity. It's the stubborn refusal to give up hope, even when hope seems impossible. That's what makes a species truly intelligent. The alien harvesting facilities were converted into memorial museums and research centers. Scientists from across the galaxy studied the technology, learning how to detect and counter similar threats. The knowledge gained helped establish early warning systems that would prevent any future harvesting operations. But perhaps the most important legacy of Operation Homecoming was the precedent it established. The galaxy learned that humanity would go to any lengths to protect the innocent, regardless of species. When the Valdari Confederacy faced extinction from a robotic plague, human fleets arrived to help. When the Zephyrian colonies were threatened by a rogue artificial intelligence, human scientists provided the technology to stop it. Dr. Webb, now head of the Galactic Technology Council, summarized the new reality in his memoirs. Humanity discovered that they had a unique role to play in galactic civilization. We became the species that others could count on when facing impossible odds. Our willingness to risk everything for the sake of children, even children of other species, marked us as protectors rather than conquerors. The harvester threat was ended, but its elimination had revealed the true nature of humanity's place in the cosmos. They were not destined to rule the galaxy through superior technology or military might. Instead, they would lead through example, showing other species that intelligence combined with courage could overcome any challenge. The galaxy had been changed forever by 50,000 stolen children and the species that refused to let them go. In saving their young, humanity had saved the future of intelligence itself. And, in the deep archives of human space, carefully preserved alongside the rescued alien knowledge, stood a simple memorial plaque with words that would be remembered for millennia: "They took our children. We took back the galaxy."